there, and welcome to this edition of UpFront. It's a monthly program produced by New Hanover County Schools. I'm Brandon Show, filling in for Ann David. Thanks so much for being here with us today. Each month here on UpFront, Superintendent of Schools Dr. Tim Markley joins us to talk about district-wide issues, accomplishments, and programs, as well as answer some questions from parents and our viewers. Along with Dr. Markley today, we will also be joined by Jarrell Lewis. He is the Title IX Director, which is a new position to the school system this year, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about his role and the work being done with the Board of Education's Title IX Committee. It's going to be a great show packed with a lot of great information, but first, Dr. Markley is here to get us started. Welcome, Dr. Markley. It's good to see you.
Brandon, good to see you.
Yes, sir, of course. Well, can we maybe just start, maybe you can tell us a little bit about where we are exactly with the state budget right now.
We're nowhere with the state budget. It was passed by the House, passed by the Senate, vetoed by the governor, and then it was passed in the House in a very entertaining override session, and it now sits with the Senate. They are coming back this month to wrap up some stuff related to redistricting, and it's my understanding there is a possibility that they could pick up the budget and try to get an override on that. I'm not optimistic at this point. If that happens, that would be great. We have a lot of things in that budget that are good for teachers. We have things that are critical to some of our programming here. But it's been a frustrating year related to the budget. So my hope is that they pass something in January that gets us through to the end of the year. If not, we'll have to work with a continuation budget. I've been a superintendent 15 years in the state, and this will be the first time that we have done that. And then we'll head into the short session. So I'm hoping they pass something, but at this point, it's a toss of the coin.
Yes, sir. We're hoping for that too. What's the biggest, you mentioned, frustration. What's the biggest frustration with that? Well,
I mean, this budget had raises for teachers, not what everyone had hoped for, but there were some significant increases there. Those have not taken place. There were raises for other state employees. There was a large amount of capital for CTEC to help us move that program along. So these programs and others are all tied up in the state budget. And since it hasn't been passed, none of those dollars have come forward.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. All right, so now tell us, Dr. Markley, now that redistricting, maps have passed by the board, what's going to happen next with that?
What's going to happen is now we'll go into our regular enrollment process. Our parents will get a letter saying where their school assignment is, and that will be in effect for next year. When you see this, the board will have decided on 5th and 8th grade privilege, so I anticipate that they'll allow those students to stay in their current schools for that last year. So once we've done that, the new schools, many of them have already started planning open houses and welcome to the school events for those folks who will be part of that redistricting process. So stay tuned, watch your mail, check in with the schools, and over the next 2 months, that process should roll out.
Excellent. We're looking forward to seeing that too. So now, Dr. Mark, the next question, as the bond projects, finish up, things get wrapped up with that, redistricting is, done, Porter's Neck is going to become its own school. Can you tell us a little bit about the plans for it and a possible immersion program that could come out of that?
Yeah, we're looking at, let's look at two issues. One is the school bond.
Okay.
We are building the last bond project right now, and that was the renovation of Riceville Beach Elementary School. Mm-hmm. So at the end of this end of the school year, all of the old bond projects will have been completed. And we're already beginning the process of what's next. We continue to be a growing county. Numbers are up. So we're looking at that next bond list. That includes expansion of certain schools, some additional schools. So stay tuned for that. This county has always been very supportive of schools and school bonds, so I think we're in a good position there. And then we have Porter's Neck, which will open, and it'll be an additional elementary school. We are considering an immersion program, or sort of a school-within-the-school program there for Mandarin Chinese. We have a very successful immersion program at Gregory for Spanish, and that is open district-wide. And we think there's enough interest in this that we can start a second program in a different language at Porter's Neck.
Excellent. I'll tell you what, the first time I went in there and saw the Mandarin program, it's really impressive.
Yeah, we have Mandarin in the middle school at Gregory, and that has expanded up to the high school.
Yeah.
And we have some kids now who speak 3 languages with with a strong level of fluency in all 3.
Yeah, a lot of innovative things that are going on here in the county.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Dr. Markley, every year, we hear about board-certified teachers. We hear about board-certified teachers. They're recognized at the school board meetings. What exactly is a board-certified teacher, and how does it help our schools?
Sure. National Board Certification is a rigorous certification program, almost like an additional master's degree, but in some respects much more concentrated and much more focused. And so we have teachers who go through that process. And when they complete the process, the state of North Carolina recognizes the value of this program by actually increasing their salary by 12%. So it's a significant pay increase for the teachers who go through it, but it's a benefit because those teachers have a level of training now that helps our students. Mm-hmm. North Carolina has always had a high number of National Board Certified teachers, and Hanover County has always been a leader in the state in terms of the board certification process. We also have teachers who go through the renewal process because unlike a master's degree, once you get it and you're done with it, you have to come back every 10 years and refresh those skills. And that's a rigorous process as well. So we're excited about National Board Certification. We think it makes our teachers better. We think it brings in fresh ideas for them to use in their classrooms and really just enhances the overall educational program in the schools.
Excellent. Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Mark. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Don't go away because when we come back, we'll sit down with Title IX Director Jarrell Lewis. Be right back with this short break. Stick around.
Roll over. Chance high five. All right.
When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique.
And your mother and... I am totally a hot person. Right, guys? Thanks for being honest.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org.
Hey there and welcome back to UpFront with the Superintendent. I'm Brandon Shope filling in for Ann David. We're joined now by Mr. Jarrell Lewis. He's the NHCS Title IX Director. This is actually a new school position here for the district and there's a lot going on. Welcome, Mr. Lewis. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Did you have a good Christmas?
I did. I really did. I enjoyed myself. First time having Christmas back here at home in Wilmington with my family. Being that I've been out and about in the Midwest, living there for a bit. So it's been good to be back home this Christmas, not have to travel.
So you know a little bit about the snow. I was up there in Michigan. My wife is from Michigan and Upper Peninsula actually. So it's probably nice being down here in the 70s, right?
I definitely look at and appreciate the weather a lot more than I did prior to moving away from the area. So yes, I definitely understand in that regard.
Yes, sir. No kidding. It's a beautiful place, but definitely, nice being here by the beach. So now you are new. So I just want to kind of get to know you a little bit, starting off for our viewers at home, who maybe haven't met you. You tell us just a little bit about yourself. We know you're from the Midwest. What else?
Well, I'm actually from New Hanover County. I was born and raised here in Wilmington. I graduated high school. And then when I graduated high school, I went to college in Greensboro at North Carolina A&T State University. And then from there, I went to law school at North Carolina Central University. So I am also a licensed attorney. And then from that, I have gone and did some attorney work, and I also lived in the Midwest in North Dakota for 14 months doing Title IX work, civil rights work, which prepared me well for this position. So now I've been away from Wilmington for 10 plus years. So now I'm moved back here in September, and the area has really changed a lot, really grown a lot. So it's been good to be back. Also adjusting to the new role and life back here in Wilmington. It's been good.
Yeah, a little more traffic too, right?
A little bit, a little bit more, yes.
Yeah, Wilmington's such a beautiful place. We're glad to have you back.
Yeah, good to be back.
Yes, sir. So what are your tasks, as the Title IX Director, Mr. Lewis?
So for the Title IX Director position, what I'm essentially tasked with by the federal government, Title IX of the Education and Amendments Act of 1972 says that each school district or system is supposed to have a designated Title IX coordinator that oversees the school's response, the district's response to incidents that highlight or implicate sex discrimination or sexual harassment. So any of those issues, or gender discrimination as well. So any of those issues related to sex discrimination or gender discrimination, I am in charge of the district's response to making sure that we are stopping, preventing, and remedying those issues from taking place in the future.
Yes, sir. Excellent. So that's a big job.
Yes.
Got a lot going on. So now NHCS, is really doing some great things, doing a lot of great things right now. My next question is, maybe if you can talk a little bit about how the school district is leading the way when it comes to Title IX here in North Carolina, because we are.
Yes, we definitely are. And first and foremost, it's saying by hiring this position, having a full-time independent Title IX director is definitely something that you do not see in a K-12 system. Higher education was where I was at prior to this, and they're a little bit more in the forefront in regards to getting in compliance with Title IX, but K-12 has been left out due to many factors, being that the federal government doesn't actually, they just seem to overlook K-12 a little bit. And so in that process, K-12 districts have been able to not really have that much guidance on how they're supposed to operate when it comes to Title IX. So New Hanover County Schools has definitely been on the forefront, one, by hiring a Title IX director that's independent. This is the only job, my only responsibility for the district, so I devote 100% of my time to this position as opposed to having it parsed out through different responsibilities. So that's definitely the biggest way that we're leading the state when it comes to Title IX compliance, that's for sure. Also, we have the Title IX committee, which is something that is unique that I have not seen in any other county here in North Carolina.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the Title IX committee. That was actually my next question, Mr. Lewis. Just can you tell me a little bit about some of the work of the committee? I mean, I've been in several of the different meetings, and I know that it's just an abundant amount of topics that are being covered in there. What are some of the goals of the committee?
So I would say the number one goal of the committee is making sure that New Hanover County Schools is doing what they can do best to make sure that we're complying with Title IX, moving forward with compliance. So the committee is really unique in that it's made up of school system personnel along with a mix of community personnel, resources as well. So it's a good mix of people that work for the system as well as individuals that have a vested interest in the community that do different work when it comes to sexual misconduct issues or domestic violence issues, along with law enforcement, different players and partners amongst the community that are involved in what this Title IX committee does. So the work that we're doing is really just reviewing and working with each other to make sure that we can be in compliance with Title IX and making sure that we're protecting our students and our employees and visitors as well.
Excellent, sir, excellent. The big takeaways from the committee meetings, is there something maybe that stuck out in your mind, or something like that you went in there and you said, you know what, this is something pretty big?
Yep, so before I even got hired, I believe that the committee has been working since about April 2019. I think that's about the time frame where it was first established. So when I came aboard in September, they had already gotten a good bit of work done. We're already working on issues such as trying to rewrite the policy, working on different subcommittees, different things like that. So I was quite impressed with the work that they have done. Of course, that Title IX committee did a lot of work in getting this position that I'm currently in, for one. So yes, they've been doing a great work, and I look forward to continuing our work and looking at different issues and how we can best come together utilizing community resources with school personnel and law enforcement to make sure that our students and our employees are safe.
Yes, sir. Great. All right. So now, what are some of the the Title IX complaints? How does a parent file a Title IX complaint?
Yeah. So a Title IX complaint can be filed. We have just launched a new system, New Hanover County Schools Concerns page, which is powered and sponsored by Ethics 360. That is a new software that we've launched in the last month or two, and so that is the number one way that a person could make a report. That could be reported by a student, a parent, or an employee of New Hanover County Schools. And what happens is once that complaint comes in, it is triaged out to the appropriate individual based on what the complaint is about, and then that automatically goes to central office. So we're automatically aware and making sure that the individuals at the school level are making sure that those complaints and those issues are being resolved. So that's one way a person can report. Also, oftentimes, individuals report, particularly with younger students, they'll report directly to someone that they trust and respect, whether it's a teacher or an SRO or someone like that, and they'll just tell them word of mouth what happened. And then what happens next is that person that has been reported to would then use that Ethics 360 New Hanover County Concerns page, and then they would go ahead and submit the report and then start the process from there.
Wow. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Now, sir, has training for staff and students, has that begun? Who is doing that? And if you can tell me the changes that will be made thanks to this.
Yeah, so when it comes specifically to Title IX, we have started doing training when it comes to staff. Okay. So I have actually been doing those trainings face-to-face. That was one of the tasks that I started trying to tackle when I first got here, was implementing training so individuals could understand what Title IX is. I think when a lot of people hear the word Title IX, they immediately think of sports and equity and gender, which is one aspect of the many aspects of what Title IX is about. So I have been doing trainings. I've conducted trainings with the principals as well as assistant principals and social workers and counselors. And in the near future, we're going to be rolling that out to students as well. And I'm also looking at options to inform the parents as well, because the community is impacted by these issues. Informing the parents about what Title IX actually is, what we can do, and how we can best help students, and what the focus of Title IX is, which is actually making sure that gender discrimination, sex discrimination is not a barrier to their education or safety while at New Hanover County Schools, as well as employees as well.
That's right. Well, I think that's really neat that you're able to do those trainings yourself. I mean, you're able to get that one-on-one time with these different administrators.
Yeah, I think it's important for them to see who I am, my face in this role. I don't want to be some anonymous person here in central office. I want individuals to know who I am. I think it's important. That's why doing different programs, going out to the community and being visible is important, to let individuals know, yes, there is someone in this position that handles these responsibilities, and I am that person.
Well, you're not just a name on an email or on a website. You're actually there in the community.
Right. So that's very, very important to me. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I think so too. So obviously, Mr. Lewis, it's a brand new year. 2020 is underway with the new beginnings. With a brand new year, what do you hope to accomplish in particular this year?
I think the one thing I definitely want to accomplish is being able to roll out a new policy when it comes to Title IX, sex discrimination, gender discrimination. I know we've talked about that before. The Title IX Committee has already been doing work on that. Right now, the federal government is in their final stages of proposing or actually putting out new regulations when it comes to Title IX compliance. So they're in that last stage. So I would think in the next few months or so, the Trump administration would go ahead and put those out. So therefore, they're going to be big overarching changes for how school districts comply with Title IX. So right now, I am in the background looking at how we would best accommodate those changes. But right now, we're really kind of in the wait and see game. And when it comes to the federal government actually dropping those regulations, so we can know exactly what we need to comply with in the future. But if we could get those done and have that implemented by the start of the new school year, I would be thrilled.
You see these as being, sir, beneficial changes?
Yeah, so it just depends on how you look at them. It just depends how Title IX works. It's like a pendulum. Okay. Different administrations, when it comes to the federal government, different presidents, they have different perspectives when it comes to how these things should be operated. The Office of Civil Rights is the federal agency that oversees the Department of Education, oversees Title IX compliance. So with that regulation, anytime a new president comes in, they put their own stamp on how that agency, Department of Education, needs to be run. So in that, Title IX can often change. So in this new within Trump administration, they're definitely doing a lot to protect the rights of the accused students. So I think that's good, in that we want to make sure that these incidents that are Title IX related, sex discrimination, gender discrimination, they're pretty serious allegations. They can be. So I definitely agree that we want to make sure that the processes are as fair as possible for all parties involved. So I think that is one good thing that's going on there.
Well, Mr. Lewis, we're really glad you're here, and we know we're moving in the right direction.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Sir. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. All right. Don't go away. We've got a few more topics to discuss with Dr. Markley. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
I was physically at school, but my mind wasn't at school. I had problems at home. So when I met Narnese, she started helping me a little bit, like, Nia, I don't know what you're doing, but your future is more important. She's my strength. It takes a village to help somebody get their diploma. It changes your whole life.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
It's a beautiful day out here. Sunny today with light breezes, giving way to clouds in the afternoon. We could see some light precipitation to moderate precipitation later on, followed by powerful storm-like conditions. 90 miles per hour winds are expected. Authorities are asking everyone, stay indoors. Come on, that's it. Let's go.
Hey there, and welcome back for our final segment here on Upfront with the Superintendent. And Dr. Markley is back with us here to answer just a few more questions. Welcome back, sir. It's good to have you. Yeah, so tell us, Dr. Markley, now, we just have a few more questions here at the end of the show. Now, along with the Title IX committee, the board has an equity, diversity, inclusion committee. Can you just tell us a little bit about the work they're doing and maybe some of the goals of that committee?
Yeah, that work is being headed up by Dr. LaShawn Smith, who's our deputy superintendent, and it's a topic that she has a lot of passion for, and it's also one that our board is committed to. And what they're doing is looking at our practices through an equity and inclusion lens to make sure that we're reaching all of our students. When we look at our curriculum, sometimes what we see is that it focuses on one group to the exclusion of others. We want to make sure that the practices that we're doing within our school bring all of those groups together, because we think that's an important part of what we do with schools. So I'm looking forward to that work. It involves a couple of things. We're doing some principal training with James Ford, former State Teacher of the Year. We are doing the committee work where we're reaching, which includes the community. We've done what we call groundwater training and brought in some folks from the Racial Equity Institute. And so it's becoming a larger community-based initiative. And so we're excited that we as a district can lead this effort, because we think that everybody has a part in this. And this committee is just bringing all of those groups together so that it's not a solution that's isolated with the school system, but one that can impact a number of different areas.
Yes, sir. Excellent. All right. So finally, to kind of wrap up the show here, when this show airs, new calendars were presented to the Board of Education for the 2020-21 school year. Can you just tell us a little bit more about them?
Sure. School calendar is a tough issue. A little bit of background. We have operated under a very strict calendar law for almost a decade now, for as long as I've been here. It sets the start date in August 27th, or the closest Monday to that date. And there are some problems when you do that. We have a lot of students who take community college courses, and then their semester is not finishing until after Christmas. So that restricts their second semester ability to take those courses, which will benefit them. We don't think it's good to come back and take exams after Christmas, especially at our high school level. So we proposed a year-round calendar. It met the state definitions of year-round that we think would alleviate some of the concerns we have with the calendar. And it had overwhelming support from teachers. It had overwhelming support from parents. But there were some concerns about rushing into a calendar because a lot of folks make plans in advance. Tourism is a major piece here in our county. So we sat down with the Tourism Bureau and a few other folks, and we delayed the implementation of that calendar for a year. I anticipate that when you hear this on air, we will have approved a traditional calendar for next year that looks a lot like this one. But with the understanding that we will, unless there's changes in the state legislature that gives us a little more flexibility, we're going to adopt that year-round calendar the following year. So I appreciate the community input that we received on this from all quarters. So we're hoping the legislature will grant us some flexibility to allow us to align closer to the community college and college calendars. But we've been trying for that for over a decade. So we'll take one more shot at this.
Yeah, excellent, sir. All right, so last question here for you. I just thought about this as well. I did talk to Mr. Jarrell Lewis about this. We're here in a new year. It's 2020. What are you most excited about for this year as a superintendent? You're energized, a brand new year.
I'm an optimist by nature. The news thrives on the negative, but in reality, there's so many great things going on in our schools, in the community at large, that I would encourage folks to set that negativity aside and go past the headlines and look for what's going on. We've got the highest graduation rate we've ever had, highest African American graduation rate that we've ever seen. Our students are performing at a high level. We've got a lot of unique programs in our district. We just got through a redistricting process, which is a tough process, but we had literally thousands of comments to help drive that process. So I'm excited about the level of engagement. I've seen our new board members who've been on the board for a year now have dug in and are committed to doing the things that are good for students. So I have a positive feel going forward for our district, and I'm excited to see where we go, not only the remainder of this school year, but into the next several years as well.
Yes, sir. Excellent. Thanks again, sir. Always good talking to you.
Always a pleasure.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir. Well, that wraps up this edition of Upfront with the Superintendent. We hope you found it interesting and informative. And if you ever have any questions or maybe a topic you'd like to see discussed here on the show, you can email michael.mcguire@nhcs.net. On behalf of Dr. Tim Markley and the staff here at NHCS TV, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next month for another edition of Upfront with the Superintendent.